Yay! Hi everyone, welcome to the Curious Endeavourances book club discussion thing, where we read anything and everything. If you don't know how it works, we are a book club on Goodreads. All the links will be below. Where we take turns, we pick a book, we read it, we occasionally review it on a blog.
Sometimes.
At some point we will get back to that. You can see all of our past reviews that we did do. And then we meet together at the end of the month, usually the last Saturday, pending, people's lives, and discuss it. So first, before we start talking about the books, I will do some introductions. So we have Ashley Newell.
Hello, and if you've never seen this before, essentially we just come together with a random assortment of themes. So this month was my pick, and then we'll just keep passing it on. And we're always open for new memberships as well, not just to join the Goodreads page, but we're always looking for someone else to jump in. So it's not just the three of us, because if you have been watching, you're probably getting pretty sick and tired of hearing the same things over and over again, mostly us being silly, though I only ate the cupcake once. So, hi Ashley, and join us actually so you can come and be a part of the discussion, because then we get some new voices, new faces, and it's not just me looking like an idiot every month. Yeah.
I don't know, I get pretty delirious when I don't sleep, which is always so. Oh yeah, I just got back from vacation, and I'm moving soon, so prepare for that, because I am not sleeping. So, more giddiness. I have tea.
And then meetings are going to be like 3 o'clock in the morning your time all the time anyway.
Only five. I've done the math. It's fine. And then we have Julianne Wilson.
Hi.
And I'm Caitlin Perry.
You got the name right.
I did. I forgot my name for a second there. That's how tired I am. So this month's pick, as Ashley said, was hers, and it was The Light Between Oceans by M.L. Stedman.
Awkward dramatic pause. Ooh, watch the glare.
Yay! And everyone holds up their books and doesn't say anything, so it's stuck on me, and I'm like, Kindle. I'm moving.
Something.
It is good for something. I was on vacation and didn't get to read it because I didn't have Wi-Fi and couldn't update my page, and I couldn't remember where I was.
You're forgiven.
I finished it. That's all that matters. Okay, Ashley is going to tell us what the book's about.
After 4 harrowing years on the Western Front, Tom Sherburne returns to Australia and takes a job as the lighthouse keeper on Janus Rock, nearly half a day's journey from the coast. To this isolated island, where the supply boat comes once a season and shore leaves are granted every other year at best, Tom brings a young, bold, and loving wife, Isabel. Years later, after 2 miscarriages and 1 stillbirth, the grieving Isabel hears a baby's cries on the wind. A boat has washed up on shore carrying a dead man and a living baby. Tom, whose records as a lighthouse keeper are meticulous and whose moral principles have withstood a horrific war, wants to report the man and infant immediately. But Isabel has taken the tiny baby to her breast. Against Tom's judgment, they claim her as their own and name her Lucy. When she's 2, Tom and Isabel return to the mainland and are reminded that there are people in the other world. Oh, there are other people in the world. I turned it into parallel universes.
And suddenly it gets really interesting.
Yeah, this is our sci-fi spin-off. What book were you reading? Didn't you catch the part when they went through the portal? Yeah.
God, I totally bought the wrong version.
Their choice has devastated one of them. I guess I could have kept going for that lifeline. And the readership award goes to... I read it better at the end of the last video. Watch last month's for my dramatic reading. So there's no cross-world traveling in M.L. Stedman's version. Stay tuned for my fanfic spin-off. I I've already totally rewritten this book in my mind, so that's that.
Where Tom ends up with Hannah.
Yes!
The perfect dad.
Yes!
Thank you!
Oh my
Yes!
Yes! Yes! Oh, my door's open. La, la, la.
Guess how I read the book, guys.
Was anything more frustrating than Isabel? Like from the start? Oh my goodness.
I was telling Ashley, I think on page 6 I made a note. I was like, nope, worst idea ever. Nope, what are you doing? And Tom's just like, well, maybe we'll see. Like, no. Tell her no. I'm sorry that she's, like, I'm sorry about everything, but no.
Yeah. I'll let you guys do your general impressions, and then because I'll go on forever. And my face just like got totally like.
It did. You're very.
Oh, there we go.
Very...
The light adjusted a little bit.
Okay.
Oh! I have to sit like here.
Okay, well, I'll start talking while Ashley adjusts, unless you want to go first, Julia. Okay. I was really into it. I really loved it in the beginning. I mean, I was just like, the whole time, I was completely like, this is the worst idea ever. Do not keep this baby. Do not report it. I was like, oh, the mother must have died. I'm like, you know that's not, no, you know that's silly. You know that's not probably true. You need to check. Like, for the love of God. So I was really into it. I'm really excited to see what was going to happen. And then I hit the middle. And I think the problem I realized is maybe that the author is too good at writing in a way that makes you feel the emotions, because as soon as we hit Hannah, I was just like,
yeah.
Oh my God. Which might be because I was feeling her emotions, because I felt the author was really good about that. Whatever Tom was feeling, I was totally on board the whole book.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, as soon as we hit the middle section with Hannah and all that stuff, I was losing it. And then when we get to the end, I was totally back in it. I was even crying. So it redeemed itself for me. And I mostly enjoyed it. But yeah, I struggled through the middle, even though it's very beautiful writing and I could picture the scenery. And as Ashley put on the boards, I had no concept of seasons, apparently. Until they mentioned the picnic at Christmas. I'm like, who picnics at Christmas? What is it? Like,
we are so sheltered in our Northern Hemisphere bubble that even though I logically understand how the Southern Hemisphere works, as I'm reading, I'm like, what is this strange stuff?
I get this every time I read something that I have friends like in New Zealand or Australia, and every time they post something about like, oh, summer's almost over, I'm like, it's barely what? It's spring. I don't understand. Right.
They flipped it around.
But that was my general. Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say that was my general thing, is that I really loved the beginning and the end, and the middle I struggled through, and I love Tom. I just wanted to be like, Tom, you know what you should do, but you love her so much. And you shouldn't! You shouldn't! Oh my God, you are such a meticulous man with how you clean that and your neat writing. And just, oh yeah, so. But I enjoyed it for the most part. Isabel, sorry, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Are you good? You good?
Yeah, just.
I also really, really enjoyed it. I finished it about 45 minutes ago. Maybe a tiny bit longer.
So it's super fresh.
It's still very fresh. It counts. I did finish. I definitely was leaving work this afternoon or evening at 5-ish and was thinking, oh my God! Like I wish at those times I had a straight commute home, because then it would be so much easier. But it's 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, 10 minutes here, and there's no time to read on the way home. But I did it anyway. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved the writing style. I was late adding an award, but I did add an award that has to do with the style of the writing as well, because it reminded me very much of watching a movie in the way the scenes were laid out, and I loved that. I also was exceedingly irritated by Isabel. Hard not to be. It's funny because that's one thing that I love, is the author does such a good job of showing us how everybody's feeling. Oh, Sheriff wants to get in the picture. So that's one thing I love, is that to some degree you can understand why she did what she did, And what bothered me most was when she didn't change her mind later, because as she was completely distraught over losing her third child, I can totally understand why she wouldn't be quite in her normal head. But then later on, the things that happened, like her being angry at Tom, and it just did.
Yeah, she was crazy.
Yeah, she was crazy. So she drove me a little bit crazy. So kudos to the author for actually being able to make me sympathize with her, considering how crazy she was.
There's like borderline Lady Macbeth going on there.
Oh god. Especially when you compare it to Hannah, like.
I felt so bad for Hannah.
I felt so bad, but Hannah was able to be like, speak on their behalf.
It's not her fault the doctor gave stupid advice. She was just listening to the doctor.
But all of Hannah's craziness are like, and like I don't know. She was Sheriff, go away. I just no. I'm sorry. I was gone, so he has to be all up over me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm packing, so. But like even Hannah, like when she gets her child back and it starts to like see how it's working, and like obviously she's very distraught for years and blah blah blah, but she was even able to go see Tom and Isabel, and it got to the point where she's like, "What's best for this kid?"
Yeah, it took her a while, but she did get there.
Yeah, she's like, "I want my baby back, but what's going to be best for this kid because I love her and I want her to be happy."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was heartbreaking to read how upset Grace was. That for me was the part that was so heartbreaking, was this poor kid is stuck in the middle and doesn't understand what the heck is going on. That for me was completely heartbreaking, and I was really glad that I was reading that part at lunch at work over several days, because it meant that I couldn't just burst into tears.
Well, and even at the end, spoilers.
You're supposed to have read the book. There's no spoilers.
I know. We're supposed to have. I'm just saying. At the end, when Isabel's sick, like Hannah, like Lucy Grace says, like, I would have come sooner, but I needed my mom to forgive you, and her mom was even able to, like, when Isabel got sick, be like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But anyway, I don't know if you were done, Julianne. Apparently we're going to have a lot to talk about tonight.
I'm good. We can move on.
Okay, well, Ashley.
Yeah, so I believe that the entire heart of this is definitely Tom, following through everything. And I'm curious if part of my, like, Isabel, was because we'd get some, especially in the middle there, a lot of Isabel. And then Tom took the back seat. But even from the beginning, even from when she was just the girl throwing bread at the pigeons, I'm like, okay, so this is another girl encounter. Let's go back to the one on the boat. Before we even knew she was Hannah. Before we knew she was Hannah. It's like, what? That one. Go for that one.
But it was like perfect timing because it took me like the whole 3 weeks to read it because I was reading it in chunks. It finally did get to the point, but by the time I'd forgotten about her is when we realized it's her. I was like, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect timing.
Well, even when Tom first meets her family, and we still haven't quite made that connection that it was the girl with the pigeons, but it was just because there was that bit of like that familiar thing. I'm like, oh, which one was it? Because it's going to be one of the two. It's going to be one of the two. And then it was Pigeon Girl, and I'm like, oh. Okay, I guess that was kind of cute. But the other one was like all chivalrous and romantic, and
I know.
And him at a weak spot because he is a war veteran and he's got a lot of metaphorically open wounds that he's been trying to keep closed and shut out. And I don't feel like Isabel was ever mature enough for coping with anything.
Yeah.
Whereas even someone who was as financially spoiled as Hannah, just looking at who she picked in her husband Fred's, and purposely going with the outcast, I was going to say German, but no, they assume he's German, but he's Austrian, yeah. And he gets all the post World War I hate crimes against him because his family is still associated if nothing else, just a name and native language with Austria, even though, was he born in Austria? No, he was like, as a baby, like he hardly spent any time in Austria.
Yeah, then I think they came over when he was really, really young, but I'm not really sure.
Yeah, but it, like, basically they were Australian. And just the fact that she could take on a massive hurdle like that and gracefully, right? She left her family, she did all that, which Isabel seemed like she thought she could do in the let's go to the lighthouse, it'll be so romantic.
Well, and even he says later, he's like, she didn't understand. Like, he says, like, near the end, I think it was in jail, if he's talking to Ralph or Bluey or something, it's like she didn't get it. She goes there and names everything and draws on his map.
She's just making, like, an adventure out of it.
Yeah, like, it's all an adventure, and then it's about having babies, because that's all she ever wanted.
And granted, I think having a kid was good for Tom, and I think he was an amazing dad.
Yes, he was so cute.
I loved his bonding with Lucy in the lighthouse.
Yeah. And
I do find it funny how more attached Lucy was to Tom in most cases, right?
Yeah.
She drew everything, and it's Lucy Lighthouse. Lucy Lighthouse. And I was just like, yes, yes. And then the whole kerfuffle with Isabel, and I was like, oh, really? Why? But even all the other characters I didn't mind. I would have actually liked to hear a lot more development about the Fritz story, the Fritz Hannah story.
Fritz and Hannah, like how, and like I liked Ralph and Hilda. Like I was so glad when we finally got to meet Hilda.
Because we hear about her a lot.
I know. Yeah, a lot of the characters, or Mrs. Mewett, who just like disappeared after you get this like wonderful like introduction.
Yeah. In the shops.
Yeah.
Even
basically.
Gwen was a really nice character. I liked Gwen.
Yeah.
And their father, like he was a wonderful guy.
He was great.
Even Isabel's parents weren't bad. But
well, I mean, I was gonna say, like statistically speaking, then if this tiny little village, if they're all great, someone has to be awful, right?
But why did Tom have to marry that one? And especially because he wasn't going to do it on his own. She forced herself onto him.
But that's why. That's why, because he was just out from the war, and he was going off to this middle of nowhere little island, and she's the one who was.
She kind of brought him back to life. So
yeah, like she's the one who was reaching out to him and like teaching him, as he said, you taught me out, like, or thinks or something. It's like she taught me I was able to be loved even though I'd done these terrible things and I didn't think I could. That's why.
I'm going to tell you my rewrite.
I'm so excited. But I don't know.
She was just so frustrating. Even before she went crazy.
Well, and
even before that, it was just like, okay, you're kind of irritating.
Well, and I got frustrated with Tom with how much, and I think it's because she brought him back to life and all this stuff, and he loved her so much that he always wanted to do the right thing, but he would let her dictate. So even when she was like miscarrying and bleeding everywhere, he was like, "You need to let me call the doctor," and she was like, "No."
I don't need medical attention. You're perfectly qualified.
Yeah, he had to like basically like. I'm surprised he got her to go see the doctor at all when they finally got back to Portuguese or whatever. Like, and she only did it because she promised him, and that's only probably because normally he doesn't ask her for much because he does whatever she says.
Yeah.
Tom is whipped.
It's just, he is quintessentially dedicated to everything. And I love him for that.
I know.
I just wish that he had someone that was more worthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Hannah.
But that being said, I would feel bad about taking Fritz away from Hannah because that seemed to be a good match.
Yeah.
Though I do question the let's jump into the rowboat to get away. Like, if they're
Where's the baby?
chasing you, would they not get to said rowboat faster than you
You
can
can launch it?
row out? Like, don't you still have to like push it out before you can start rowing because it
With a
has to be
baby?
somewhere? Yeah.
That one was one at the end of a pier, but you still would have to untie it
Yeah.
With a baby!
with a baby.
Yeah, because you can't just like plop the baby because it's a brand new baby.
Not to mention questionable judgment taking a baby in a rowboat.
In a storm. When you're being shot at or whatever and chased.
And she was apparently fine, so why not leave baby with mom?
Well, Mom gave her to him and said run ahead, and then Mom tripped, didn't she? But they weren't after Mom and baby, right? They could have just...
That's the thing, they were only after him.
I mean, they still said that the baby was an abomination, but I don't think they really would have, like, bashed the baby's head in. They wanted to torment Fritz.
Frank, yeah. They would have gone after him first, if anything, and... Yeah, no.
Oh, right. Fritz was his dad, wasn't it?
I think he was Fritz turned Frank.
Yeah, they were saying that they changed his name to be more... Oh,
Yeah.
no, Fritz was the dad. Franz was...
Friends and turns into Frank.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't read it as recently. I barely remembered Hannah's name, honestly, before we started.
I'm going to get them all mixed up. It doesn't help that Lucy is Grace.
Yeah, that...
Lucy Grace. That is the other thing, too, with Hannah, and I know that, she'd been through stuff and the doctor gave her terrible advice, but it was like when Gwen finally called her Lucy, I felt like, I know you named her Grace, I know you wanted to name her Grace, but she's been Lucy for a long time.
That was one thing that bothered me, too, is like, really? This kid has grown up being called Lucy. You can't just be like, oh, no, you're Grace. Like...
But that happens all the time. Like,
Yeah?
nothing disgusts me more than, like, either reading forums or watching a documentary thing where they're like, so we've adopted this international child, and it doesn't even have to be like a brand new baby. It's like anywhere from like 2 to 10, and they're like, so your name's really hard for us. It's not very, American. So let's give you this that has nothing to do with your original name.
I wouldn't even rename my cat when I adopted him. And he was probably only named Sheriff for like 5 days.
So that is a very real thing, and very few people think about the consequences of that. Although I was really impressed because there was like a name site thing, and the lady who runs it like turned her and she's like, "You're bringing a kid halfway across the world, and you don't think they're going through enough things? Just keep her name and deal with it." Because I think there was like we don't know if we should we change her name to this, or if we have to keep her name and it's too awkward, should we just, get another kid? And she's like, whoa.
I would just
coming down to the name.
Just give them a nickname. Like, if you can't say the full name, give them a nickname, because they'll probably get one eventually anyways, because we all do that.
Yeah.
And because at least it's similar. No one in my family calls me my full name.
That's horrible, though, to put a child through that.
No.
I mean, not that they're not going through... I mean, one would hope that once they're adopted, things would be better, but it's kind of horrible to just take them from where they were and put them in a whole new situation and then be like, oh, now you're a totally different person.
The culture's changed, they don't know the language, and all of a sudden they can't even be their own self.
Yeah.
So, that's a real-life thing that does happen quite frequently, so... not so strange that in an isolated community, above all things, especially when the doctor is saying the easiest way to get over things is to not have any contact, which is not the case, which is why there are more and more open adoptions nowadays.
Yeah.
There's a greater void that's filled when you don't have that. I mean, at least if you know, then you get some closure for things.
At least it's acknowledged then.
Yeah. Especially considering she'd probably remember having these other parents at some point. She wasn't that little.
Yeah.
Well, and she even said when she goes to see him at the end of the book, like, I have a few vague memories.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so at that age, she definitely remembered something.
Well, and that's the thing is, at that age, that would have been her whole life, and it would have taken a long time to replace those.
Yeah.
Right.
And still had a few even later in life. Like, everyone's got a few snippets of when they're really little.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even if you can't make sense of them.
By the way.
No worries.
Yeah, one of the most heartbreaking things was when she was playing with the clothes pegs.
Ugh.
and pretended that they were her family. And Hannah came over and slapped her for it. Like, you're not allowed to play those games. And then the second time she was playing, and she saw Hannah standing there, and she slapped herself. It's like, oh my goodness, what have you done to this child?
Yeah. Although I think part of it was because she realized that she'd given away part of the secret. I think
that was part of it.
Partially blasting herself for that.
But I don't know. I mean, but you could tell too, like, obviously Hannah has been through so much and she just wants her baby back. But at least her dad and sister...
It's traumatizing for everyone. And I still don't blame her for following what the doctor told her to do. Right? Block it out.
Knows what you do in those situations when you're the one in them. But at least her dad and sister were good at, like, there to support both of them. And like,
dad was so wonderful.
Yeah.
He was
like a Tom of the previous generation.
Septimus Potts.
And the best name ever. There need to be more Septimuses. I think really awesome books. All really awesome books have Septimuses because
Stardust.
We have that. Mrs. Dalloway has Virginia Woolf, one of the most renowned authors ever, has a Septimus. We need more Septimuses. And Sepulchre's close enough, so we can throw Gorpagast in there. We need just more Sept names.
See, the only problem with Septimus is that, and I thought it as soon as I read it, it's like seventh son.
Yeah.
And I am not having 7 sons.
Yeah, no.
You could just be like, oh, this is my 7th or my 3rd son, Septimus. And you're like, okay.
Considering we live in an age where people really don't consider the literal meanings of most names they bestow their children, I think you could get away with it.
But I would know.
Well, then you just need to wait until your brothers and sister have had enough kids that this can be the 7th grandchildren or grandchild. Then you got a Septimus.
I'm gonna have to have at least 6 of those kids at this rate. There's 1. I mean, oh boy. I'm just gonna go with Lucas. There's something. Benedict.
That's a good name.
Kevin will never let me name our children if we have them. I want to name him Septimus. No.
Yeah, good luck with that one.
Just no.
If you just say it on repeat enough, you'll just sink in.
Just because that works for you.
It did. I mean, it takes, like 7 years, but you're not looking for anything in the next couple years anyway. You got
time.
For 7.
That's the idea.
I'm just gonna have a dog.
I already got one of those. And that was also just the repeating enough times. We should get a puppy. We should get a puppy.
Someone's half asleep with his eyes open, staring at me. It's kind of creepy. Speaking of pets. Hi, Sheriff. Hello. Oh, I know, it's so exhausting having me do stuff. Sorry.
That actually is reminding me. Yay, circling back to book. Tabitha Tabby.
Book? Tabitha Tabby.
I thought it was hilarious because
Tabitha Tabby that
they had no way to know that
Tabby or a girl.
Yeah.
Because of course Hannah had no way to know that Tabitha Tabby was what Lucy had called another cat from. Was it her grandparents?
Yeah, she was
somebody else's cat.
It was her. I don't know. It was the cat that was. It might have been her grandparents' cat.
Well, it was hanging around her grandparents' house.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's what she said. Just like it's the only cat name she knew, so that's why she chose it.
Yeah. Why would you tell a kid that that's not an appropriate name? Like, I just keep thinking about Lilo and Stitch when she's It's like, we should name him Stitch. Like, oh, that's not a good name for a dog. And just the glare.
Yep. That's so
Or was
well
it
do.
like, in China? But it's a perfectly good name here.
Right. I don't know. It's a pet. Name it what you want.
Yeah, I need
She's a little kid who's trying to adjust, and she's bonding with something, and you're like, no, that's not
But
right.
it's also kind of heartbreaking that at first she was like, I'll call it Lucy, because she just wanted, like, she liked that name and she wasn't want to use it herself.
Lucy Lighthouse.
Lucy Lighthouse. So cute. So very cute.
My heart did like a little like when Lucy Grace goes to Tom's at the end, and she's like looking at all the books. It's like there's this giant atlas of the stars. Like, because you wanted to give him
no recollection of what the significance of that was.
No, I know. Like you wanted to give him the stars because you had. That's what's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
They had such a close connection.
Mm-hmm.
But at least she said she was going to come back, right?
Yeah, that was awesome that she was like, no, I'm not going to take this step.
And she brought her son, so Tom got to see his grandson. And I did notice that no one did seem particularly upset that Isabel wasn't there for all of that. Like, it was almost like it was satisfying that she could just be with Tom again.
Yeah.
Because, well, I think if Isabel had been there, it would have been... I mean, of course, depending on how sick she was. Because towards the end, it probably wouldn't have made a difference. She wouldn't have recognized her.
But even with how obsessive, like, she'd been in the past, like, it would have
gone well.
Well, I'll say this from experience. In the end, when someone has cancer, and they're in the last couple of weeks, it makes no difference. They probably don't recognize anybody. So if it was too close to the end, it wouldn't have mattered, because even if Tom was saying Lucy's name, she might not have even...
Although that would also depend on the type of cancer, and they didn't really clarify which kind she had, right?
Well, yeah, I'm talking about, like, not... I don't know. I'm talking about just generic Hodgkin's.
Okay.
Lymphoma. It's just the wasting away, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I was crying, FYI. Like all good cancer books.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say this was a cancer book. It was kind of thrown in there at the end.
Yeah. Cancer moments.
But, okay, nothing was more of a piss-off than having Isabel willingly let her husband hang for murder.
Yeah.
I mean...
Like, I know you're upset with him, but really? Really? The nicest man on the face of the earth?
So here's what I'm going to say to that. It gave me the sense that it was never about Tom for Isabel. It was the adventure of going to the lighthouse. It was the babies. Because she said right away, I want tons of babies. Mm-hmm. It wasn't, I want to get married. I don't want to meet a nice man and fall in love. I want to have tons of babies.
She was a woman on a mission.
Well,
yes, I'm not saying that she didn't love him. I'm just saying...
No, I'm not sure if that actually follows through, because then she did have the choice, and that was something that I was really worried about. She finally made the point she was going to do the right thing, and then Hannah shows up at the door and says, you can have her back if you promise, if you swear that you had nothing to do with it. And I was like, oh, no.
No.
Because I was legitimately afraid that Isabel would once again do the wrong thing. And
but she was going to.
She did the right thing.
If Tom hadn't written that letter.
On for so long.
But I think the fact that she finally did the right thing shows that she actually did love him. She just...
No, but if Tom hadn't written that letter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
Or it never be delivered, because it was Bluey that delivered it, wasn't it?
Yeah, so say she had never gotten the letter.
You still don't think Tom would eventually come to her senses?
I think she might have eventually. It was like what,
Mind you, it might have been too late.
But that's right. It's like what the policeman was saying to Hannah, whatever his name was. Like, I'm telling you something that you're going to realize in a few years. In a few years, it's going to be too late. Yeah. So I'm trying to help you realize it now. Is that, yeah, they did something wrong. But they fixed it. They never hurt the child.
And ultimately, they also did save her.
Yeah. Like, yeah, they deserve to be punished. He doesn't deserve to hang.
Yeah.
He didn't kill your husband.
No.
Like, all that stuff. So I think Isabel would have realized it eventually, but I think that if it hadn't been for the letter, and if she hadn't arrived and Tom had been in the front instead of in his cell, like if all those hadn't lined up properly enough for her to realize it, she might have let the anger.
Yeah. Well, she also had a little bit of a delusional side going.
A little bit?
A little bit.
Being nice.
I have so little sympathy for and I get how difficult, having miscarriages and fearing your infertility and all that. Like, I get that is a serious traumatizing thing. But still, the nicest man on the planet, and you want to let him die for murder?
Like,
you can concoct stories in your head about some sort of illicit something that went on between him and Hannah way back when. Like,
I just would be like, you've never even let him explain the fact that he had no, like, I can't believe he knew he'd met her before and said, he had no idea. He'd never...
Years before I even met you, sweetie.
I saved a woman on a boat.
And I didn't know her name. I just happened to come across the room when some guy was trying to do something. Like, he basically was trying to explain this to her, right? He's like, It just so happened that the time this was happening, I was passing by, so I intervened. That's it. He didn't even know her name.
I'm the nicest freaking guy on the face of the planet.
You even know he is because he convinces Hannah not to press charges. She even said, I took your advice, because he was like, he didn't end up hurting you.
How much more level-headed Hannah is, despite traumatic situations. Oh my goodness.
Well, I thought it was ironic that Hannah was the one that people totally thought should be in the loony bin, and I was like,
Even when the rattle showed up and the letters, they're like, okay. She's like, no, I swear.
Going back to Tom writing letters, I knew this wouldn't happen, but there was a little tiny part of me that just hoped, just to kind of salvage any part of Isabel's character when those letters were arriving to Hannah about, by the way, your baby's fine, and we didn't have exact confirmation yet on where they were coming from. And it was clear that if anyone, it would come from Tom, but I had that bit of hope in the back of my brain of surprise us all and let it be Isabel who can't handle the guilt. Please surprise us. And then, no, it was Tom, and it's like, yeah,
she never felt guilty. And she never felt guilty. I think that's what frustrated me more than anything.
What frustrated me the most, too, is that she was able to just invent this illusion in her head and not even address that at all.
And even when she finally admitted that, yes, it was Hannah's baby, she even says to Tom, like, no, there's no way out of it. We can't fix it now. There's no going back.
So I just slipped right back.
Yeah. But it was just...
Well, that was a loud door.
You look very...
I'm glowy again.
You are glowy again. That's new.
It's okay. According to my screen, you've got a whole bunch of blue lines going up and over your face.
I do. That's for my blinds, though, I think. I do have that. I don't know if that's from my computer.
The light doesn't know where to go.
Well, because there's the sun is sitting on the other side of the building next to us. That's my candy, Sheriff. And I have my blinds closed on one side of the apartment. So earlier when it was sun, it was just lines, and now it's doing this, and it does this sometimes. Or my computer is going weird, but it's on my screen too. So
this is our high-tech effects.
Dance party.
Yeah.
Sheriff's trying to get my candy. See? Or, hi, that's my Kindle. Hi. Hi, Sheriff. Do you want to say hi?
Monster cat.
I can't even see now. Sheriff. Hi. Hi.
Basically like Catzilla.
Cat. He's going to walk on my computer soon. Get down. Hi. Yeah, I know. You're very handsome, and I'm busy. You're good. Hi. 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 No, don't sit on it. Don't sit on it. He's about to put his bum right on the laptop.
Oh, yeah, I saw.
Look, hi. Look what I'm doing. It's Auntie Ashley. Look.
Hi, Sheriff.
Probably help if he could hear you. Look. See, you don't care. You want the candy. I know. You want all my attention. Yep.
It's okay. Minion headbutted me.
And soon he's going to bite me for not letting him on the computer. What's going on? This is Sheriff, everybody watching. In case you hadn't figured that out.
He only makes a cameo like every month.
He doesn't always, but this is the most he's been on screen ever.
This is the most his butt's been on screen.
Oh, I love that that's what I came back to.
Hi.
We'll change the rating for inappropriate exposure of cat anus.
Hi, Tab. Hi, Tab.
Sorry for my random disappearance there. My sister had called, and my grandma was upstairs trying to get my attention, and she's 92, so attempting to explain to her that I have book club on a computer, which is it wouldn't go.
That's okay. We had a cat show. And more. Hi. Yeah, you get to stay over there. Okay. What was I saying? I don't know.
We were talking about
Isabel
and the charges and.
So but Tom even is saying to her, like, we know that Mom's alive now, Izzy. Like, she's like, nope, too late, can't do it. And that's all it ever was. It was always just, never poor Hannah. It was always, how can I keep Lucy safe so that she doesn't get her back? Because she knew, and that kind of shows that somewhere inside she knew that Hannah, like, rightfully should have Lucy.
Yeah.
Because she was so worried about them taking her away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if she honestly thought that Lucy was theirs no matter what, that wouldn't have been as big of a fear.
That's true.
So. My screen is awesome.
I would have been happier if they'd shown just even like a crack in Isabel's resolve, because it bothered me that she was so okay with it. Like, really bothered me. Like, I get when she can actually legitimately justify that they think the mother's died, you know, they found that cardigan, etc. Okay, I get that. Then they can really think, yes, they saved this baby. They still should have reported it, but at least they don't know.
Yeah.
But then once they know for sure, and they know exactly whose baby it was, and she's just like, nope.
That's why I was hoping, just that shred of hope, that we would be surprised and be like, oh, it must be Tom sending the letters. What? It wasn't Tom?
Of course it's Tom.
But that would have been awesome.
That would have been awesome.
I was seriously hoping.
But of course it's Tom.
Of course it's Tom.
Of course it's Tom. Sigh.
And the sad thing is, I think Hannah would have let him have visitation rights. But he would never do it without Isabel, and Isabel's crazy. So.
Well, and it's funny how everyone kind of suspected it too. Everyone who knew Tom was like, Tom.
Yeah.
You are the nicest, most to the book kind of guy.
Well,
you are not someone who would steal babies and murder people in boats.
Well,
and he fessed up.
Knew him only so well too, because they'd known Isabel a lot longer.
Yeah, but Tom fessed up right away.
Pardon?
And Tom fessed up right away. Like when the cops showed up, he was like, "Yep."
And they knew that the letters came from him.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So clearly he was
showing some sort of remorse.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go open my blinds and see if that
stops our strobe show.
Yeah, I don't know what's doing
I don't know what to do about this glow I have.
Look at me,
I could turn off the
tanned.
lights, but
Look, I'm so tanned, guys. Nope.
Oh.
My shorts. That's a great view for everyone. I'll be right back.
The most graphic episode we've had yet. They're still there.
They're still there.
It's nope. They're still very blind. It's like when you see someone videotaping a TV or a computer, and it's just like.
Yeah, it's my computer, but I don't know why.
Something's dying.
God, why? And it's funny. Normally, I'm in HD as well.
Ah.
You're like, okay.
It says you're in HD.
Okay. It usually tells me.
There's
I
a little pop-up
apologize.
thing that comes up.
Yeah. I don't know. Mine's not doing it. I apologize.
So I have so many stickies here, and most of my stickies are in the first bit just because they're descriptions of Tom. So from the very beginning, I'm like, all these wonderful things about Tom, because I was actually really liked hearing about like wartime Tom and like all his morals and values and all that, and especially again on that boat where he met Hannah for the first time unknowingly, and just all his attitudes towards everything. And because we do get to see just glimpses of how he thinks and feels about things, even though he even does, like, he holds back quite a lot from even our audience. Like, as a reader, you don't go into those depths because he pushes them so far back. But I loved getting that whole picture of him, and I did respect how reserved he was, even though it was bothering Isabel to no end. But I'm curious if that's not just someone being in the war versus someone who wasn't in the war, but also that age difference, because there was 10 years between them, and very different lifestyles.
Yeah. I think it was a combination of everything, because I think an age difference, once you get older, doesn't make any difference, right?
Yeah.
But experiences do.
Yeah, well, and she didn't have any of the mental, emotional maturity about it either,
God, no.
which again, Hannah did seem to possess when she was, standing up for Frank, right? When she bought the book for Frank, because she's like, no, that's not right. You special ordered this book all the way from Germany, and they're not going to let you buy it.
Yeah, that's something I find interesting. It just occurred to me is they never tell us how old Hannah is.
True.
They said she was quite young.
Did they?
When she was on the boat, but I don't really know what the time difference was, like how close she was to Isabel's age. I get the feeling she was a bit younger, but I'm not sure.
She was the young daughter of some wealthy guy, right? Okay, that's a good point. And they kind of laughed that she was traveling alone.
And they were going to go steal her panties.
Yeah.
Poor girl.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's bad enough now. Can you imagine how traumatizing it would be back then? And you're like,
when everyone's so sexually repressed.
Yeah, and you're all alone on this ship with all these like drunken.
There was also part of me that kind of was like, so this was the 20s? Would that even have happened? Really? Would some wealthy guy's daughter really be by herself, unescorted? That seems unlikely.
Well,
it happened on occasion.
Yeah, it wasn't like a big cross-ocean thing, right? They were just traveling from one place in Australia to another.
That's true.
Right, and with all the little islands and all that stuff they have to go across, right, to get to Janice, they always have to take a boat. So it's not like they were there for days upon days upon days. Just quick little trip over.
Yeah, and he was a very down-to-earth kind of guy because he made his own fortune, right? So
that's true.
And I'm sure the assumption would be that there would be like stewards or ship crew that would keep an eye on their more VIP passengers, right? And that moral, ethical code of you just don't do that with, right, young, fragile, vulnerable women. But they just didn't account for drunken, shell-shocked veterans.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just flipping through some of my other stickies because I could seriously read all these different things. Like the letter he sent to Isabel, like all my stuff is just like, Tom. He's not one of my fictional 5. I don't feel anything like that, but it's just like, oh, you are so sweet. I wouldn't want you for me, but I could find you a girl.
I just on the fictional 5 note. There was a moment at the wedding that we were at when Kevin, it was raining by the end. We were under this covered area for the dancing. So all the guys had their pants rolled up. and like their jackets off because it was muggy. And Kevin had his vest open, and one of our friends came over. We were talking. He's like, "I like what he's got going on here. Do you know what I'm getting at?" And I was like, "Oh my God, he's Han Solo." And then I pointed that to other people. And at first he got mad at me because he thought I was making fun of him for like sitting down at this point. I'm like, "No, I'm pointing out to everyone you look like Han Solo," and they all agree with me. He's like, "Oh, I'm okay with that." It was just the way he had his shirt and like his vest was open, and I was like, "You look like Han Solo."
That's why you kept him.
I know. I knew one day he would look like Harrison Ford in some way. Deep down, I knew it was possible. Sorry. No, I have quotes, like a lot of mine are about the ocean, because I like the ocean. So, and storms, and Tom.
I sadly am devoid of stickies, not because there weren't wonderful things in this book, but because I read 90% of it at work and was doing so while eating lunch, and that just wasn't conducive to sticky.
Okay.
I have one here that has nothing to. Well, I shouldn't say has nothing to do with Tom. 'Cause everything has to do with Tom, but has less to do with Tom. And this is just one of those wonderful Tom Lucy moments. After she had burned her hand and they bandaged up, and it was so random and bizarre and out there, but like. I think more the way I interpret it being said in my brain as opposed to how Stedman probably intended it to come across, but she's there, her bandaged arm, and this is 171. I've been in the wars, Dada.
Oh, but that was
meant to be somewhat comical though. Like she really wanted to. Like she was thinking that she'd like fit in. Like I've been in them too now.
It's that total Tom Lucy bond when they're up there, but just because I picture like this, like I don't know.
Yeah, no.
It's just really funny in my head.
We have a lot of adorable moments with Tom. I had a bunch of stuff too about the lighthouse, like signaling, like danger, and like even Tom, the last night there before he gets taken away, it says one last time he set his signal to mariners, like beware, and it was just reminding me like the situation they're in, like, or in I think Isabel says at one point, it's like, it's not the place that lights up; it warns you away from it.
Yeah.
I think that's the danger of getting lost in your own world, right? And the lighthouse island, like Janice, is such a secluded place that allows you to do that.
One thing that's interesting too is their observations that the light from the lighthouse never actually touches the
It's light. Yeah, it illuminates everywhere else, but it warns you away from the place. Also, because I just thought this was hilarious, it's on page 155. History is that which is agreed upon by mutual consent.
Ha! I love that quote. I actually had that on a piece of paper that I was using for a bookmark, and then I realized I had come upstairs without the piece of paper.
Oh, I got, like, the last few things I highlighted are like that, just like one-offs. And the other one is on page 307 when Tom's thinking about like the war self, and then the self on Janet, like with Isabel or without Isabel, and it says like Russian dolls, these lives sit within him.
Yes, I loved that observation as well.
I think we all have that.
Oh yeah.
It's a little bit more defined by the way we do like school and stuff now, right? Like
all the layers in our context.
But I feel like everybody has different versions of themselves, and that's
affected by different stuff. And and then this one, I think, page 232. It was the context is I think when Hannah is trying to decide what to do, and she was thinking about what Frank said to her, like because he always
on 323. That one.
Yeah, 323.
Yeah, I have that one too, and I'm just like, oh.
You only have to forgive once to resent. You have to do it all day, every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to keep remembering all the bad things. I was like, so wise.
Yeah.
Loved Frank.
Oh.
Okay. So, love this book for Tom. I definitely lost taste for it the more Isabel there was.
Yep.
Loved the other characters, but mostly loved Tom. Um, and just didn't feel entirely satisfied by the end. Still enjoyed the getting to know the characters and going through their experiences, but just wasn't entirely enthralled all of the time, page after page, and mostly because of Isabel.
Yeah.
So, to make it better,
You rewrote it.
This is what I was thinking. So we keep most of it the same, except we cut out the Isabel stuff. So he's on Janus Rock, because that's where he is. The boat comes up with poor dead Frank and poor little baby. So we still have Hannah and we still have Fritz, because I think that was necessary for both of them to be together and to have that experience, because Hannah does grow so much from, I keep calling him Fritz, from Frank. From Frank. But as much as Tom wants to send and alert people, hey, there's a baby here, there's like some sort of like really long lasting storm, hurricane thing, whatever, so that signals are not getting through. So he's reported it all, but for whatever reason cannot, get over there. People are not going to be able to come to him. So he ends up forcibly having to bond with this baby over some time. No idea where the baby belongs to or anything like that. No trace of where it's come from. And so there's more of that bonding. Then meets up with Hannah and they realize, hey, you're from that boat. And then it works out for everyone.
I know, the whole time.
There could still be that, wait, because we have no, proof of anything, did you murder him, did you not? And Hannah has to be like, oh, do I trust him, do I not? But he was so nice to me. What, did he murder Frank? But what's he want? What are his true intentions? And so we could still have some of that issue going on, and then it could just all get resolved in the end and being like, no, we have looked and there's no blunt force or anything on the body of that man, so we'll say that your records and your long-standing history with everyone is good, so everything will work out. You can still be like the father-type figure to this child. And hey, guess what? Your girlfriend's rich and has reconciled with her rich father, so you can inherit the forest and the mine.
Oh, how convenient.
I might hate the book more because it's too happy, but I think Tom deserves it.
I think he deserves it, but I kind of like Tom alone on the lighthouse. I liked that period of time.
But yeah. Hannah would work out on the lighthouse thing because she self-isolated to be with Frank. So I think she would survive very well out there. They could still inherit it, or they could leave it to Gwen or whatever, right? Because it's supposed to split 50-50 between the two. But just the idea that they would have that eligibility. But I think Hannah would be fine out by the lighthouse.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And obviously Lucy was fine.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. She loved it. And if that was the burial site of her husband, because, well, they can't keep the body out over that period of time, right? Things would happen, so he has no choice but to bury it. And everyone's like, oh, but that's sketchy. And he's like, no, it makes logical sense, or bugs would have eaten him.
No, and they did start to go after him.
Mm-hmm. So that was my... This is how Tom's life should have played out without Isabel.
Poor Tom.
But yet still, there is, I guess Hannah could have done it as well, but Isabel did kind of pull him back to actually wanting to be...
Well, she was just...
Really at all.
I think this was because when he met her, too, she was just so...
Alive,
full of life, effervescent.
Yes.
So...
But see, the baby could have done that when it was on the boat, and then Hannah could have reinforced it when they reconciled with the idea that, no, he wasn't a murderer.
There you go.
And yet, I feel like I don't think I could read that version of it, because it just would be too perfect.
It would be. It would be like total fairy and all that. But Tom just is a great person. He deserves more than, yep, you got stuck with a wife who never thoroughly appreciates you, and you are following her around from institution to institution.
That almost makes him a better person, though, that he still sticks with her, that he actually loves her that much.
No, he's so dedicated. I think that does make him wonderful, but it's just sad. I mean, he's suffered enough with his childhood, the war, everything, and his wife accuses him of murder. It's just like, oh, really? Give the guy happy. In the parallel universe. So maybe that happens. They go through the portal, and then he gets to redo the whole thing without her.
They get lost along the way.
Yep.
God.
I just thought that Tom could have done better.
Oh, Tom.
Yeah.
So, do I have all the award things up on Goodreads?
So.
Yep.
I put one up like literally last minute. I think as I was coming on here, I put one up.
I see it. All right, so I can start with yours, Julianne.
Okay.
So we have a author award for Where's the Popcorn for the Okay, you take it over.
Cinematographic?
Cinematographic, yeah.
I can't even see the word. I know you can say cinematography, so I guessed it was a bit.
Yeah, for cinematographic literature. Because, pardon?
That's just what it sounds like just the way you pronounce it. The cinematographic, it's like onomatopoeia.
The onomatopoeia flows.
I know.
It was that award is because I felt, and it's an impression that hit me really early on, and it stuck with me through the entire book, is the way it's written, for me, was very much like watching a film, where you get those little short vignettes here and there of the various things that are going on that give you, like, all of those stitched together to give you a sense of the whole. You don't follow the characters quite as closely as you often do in novels. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really interesting. So, yeah, hence the graphic.
I'm good with that award.
I think that's because Tom is the lighthouse.
He is. All right. We have, I think everything else is just literary awards. So, never felt this anxious for so much of one book.
It was like page 6. I was just like, it's like the whole time I was just like, nope. Well, the whole
don't do anything. Because you know it's going to.
I know. So like from the instant they find the baby, like it takes a few pages for you to figure out what's going on, really, and then once you do, it's just like.
Well, and then also.
I know you're not going to do the right thing.
And then they revisit that scene several times too, and you're like, oh.
I know. So you're just like, Tom, do the right thing. I know you're not going to, but do the right thing. And then they meet Hannah, and you're just like, oh my god.
And before that, there's the reference on the back of the book to the 2 years later they go back.
Mm-hmm.
But like 2 years later, nothing actually happens. It isn't until like another shore leaf later on. But for the whole time they're there at that 2-year shore leaf, I'm like, oh my god.
Every time they go to shore, you're just like waiting. You're just waiting.
It makes it really ironic that when something finally does happen, it's while they're on Janice. No.
I know,
right? And that leads into the Tom Isabel Sherburne, the worst idea ever award.
Yes.
Maybe she just needs a little bit more time with the baby, is the quote. Maybe it'll be okay in the morning. No. Worst idea ever. No.
Pretty much all of Isabel's ideas are the worst idea ever.
I know, but that's what Tom is thinking. Like, he sees her with the baby. He's like, maybe she just needs a little bit more time. Maybe this one night. Like, no. Mm-mm.
Listen to your original instincts, Tom. Your
instincts kept you alive. Your instincts kept you alive during the war. Trust them, man. Trust them.
Except he regretted that. So maybe that's why he's...
Maybe.
Instinct says I should do this. But I'm not happy with where that led me.
Especially because at that point he didn't know they couldn't have more kids.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, just lots of women, like, it happens, have a lot of miscarriages.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just...
That was a sad moment with her mother, where her mother was like, oh, yeah, it does happen all the time, and I don't have the heart to tell her that, it was so easy for me to just pop out babies. But then I lost them afterwards, and
Yeah.
that was hard.
Yeah, so anyway.
And then I've got a couple. So for Tom Sherburne, the World's Most Dedicated Man Award, because
Yep.
really, and I thought I had problems literary award, because it's like, really, how much more complicated could you possibly make life
for everyone? It wasn't even just the main characters; it was like everybody.
Yeah.
It's like the world's worst chain reaction to like one little decision. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So, overall ratings?
I went with a 4. Actually, I don't think I've put it on Goodreads yet, but in my head I decided a 4.
I went with a 4. It fluctuated. I'm like 3.75. Because I was like 3.5. Because it started to go down when I got to the part that I struggled with, and it was back up, and it was down. I was like, 4. It's the round up.
I gave it a 4 because I did enjoy going through these characters, loved Tom, and I connected with the book, right? For better, for worse, I felt the emotion, so clearly that was well done. It's just not one, and usually my main thing for books out of 5 is, am I dying to relive this adventure again? No.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Gone through it once. It was a neat perspective, but I'm content to put this back on the shelf.
Yeah.
So, Caitlin, do you want to give us a little overview of what's still to be done before next month's book pick?
Sorry, I'm having messaging from people related to book club, so other people that I have to check on.
Are people actually watching this one?
Yeah.
Oh, people are? People never watch.
Sorry. Okay.
I'm not pessimistic at all.
Don't even talk. We all know I'm a pessimist.
The next month stuff?
So I had to pull up. We were going to meet tomorrow, but can't because life. So we met tonight. Obviously, if you're watching, you know this. I really hope you know this. You didn't go through that many dimensions. The poll technically is still up till tomorrow. I can read you the description of the one that's currently in the lead, but not a lot of people have voted. So
get your butt in gear and
go vote.
Click the poll.
It's really
I voted. Julianne voted. We've all voted. All the cool kids are doing it.
We're not the only ones who voted, but go vote. I can read to you currently the one that's in the lead, because if no one else votes, it'll be the one that we're reading tomorrow if you want.
Yeah, we can do that.
So the poll that is up is not what I have open. The poll that is up is voting for a book by the same author. The author is Gina Showalter. She writes primarily genre romance, fantasy novels. The poll is deciding which genre. So there's demons/gods, shapeshifters, angels, aliens, and zombies. So currently Demons and Gods is in the lead. They're all series. Oh dear, what did I just do? They're all part of a series, so we'll be reading the first book. So the one that's in the lead, Demons and Gods, the book would be The Darkest Night. It's the first of the Lords of the Underworld series. Background. Do you want background on what the series is about?
Sure.
So basically, it's these warriors who I think were like the bodyguards of the gods. Rebelled, opened Pandora's box. As their punishment, all the demons that were inside Pandora's box were attached to each one of them. So now they're not gods, they're not lesser gods, they are the demons. And they have to remain together for both to stay alive. or they need Pandora's box to trap the demons again. So it made them immortal. So each one is like, so the one I've read is about the guy who's embodied by death. This one, I can't remember which one it is. So I'll read you about it. So it's, his powers, inhuman, his passion, beyond immortal. All her life, Ashlyn Darrow has been tormented by voices from the past. To end the nightmare, she has come to Budapest, seeking help from men rumored to have supernatural abilities. Not knowing, she'll be swept into the arms of Maddox, their most dangerous member, a man trapped in a hell of his own. Neither can resist the instant hunger that calms their torments. What?
You should have just mentioned that this was going to take place in Budapest, because we've already seen what happens with wonderful
Yeah.
romantic encounters with massive statues.
I don't know if there's statues in this one. Okay, sorry, so the second part. Neither
statues in this one. I will judge it thoroughly if there are no statues.
No statues? There might be. Okay, so neither can resist the instant hunger that calms their torments and ignites an irresistible passion. But every heated touch and burning kiss will edge them closer to destruction, and a soul-shattering test of love. Though they carry an eternal curse, the lords of the underworld are irresistibly seductive and unimaginably powerful. Da da da.
I already had that done in my head.
I'm trying to remember which one Maddox is. I can't remember. I knew this because I read the second one, so I know the curse, but I won't tell you the curse. I'm trying to remember which one, because there's basically like, is he Pain? So there's like Death, who has to carry the souls. There's Lust or Love or Passion, who basically their powers are dependent on the things they do, based on the demons that inhabit them. So like Paris, who is love or lust or whatever, will actually become weaker and weaker and weaker if he doesn't have sex with someone, but it always has to be a different person.
Huh.
And like, so they have super demon strength, but then they lose it and they get weak and awful. Like the guy who has pain has to constantly inflict pain on himself to keep his power. There's the guy who has disease, who constantly has to like wear gloves or whatever, because as soon as he touches someone, disease, like stuff like that.
Did this in any way inspire the remake of The Sims for them to have those motivational trait things?
I have no idea.
They did that in Sims Medieval. Like, oh, I'm a bloodthirsty person, so I must go and like punch people every day.
But you have to?
You have to, or they get cranky.
No. Okay. But I'm trying to think, like, there's a bunch of them. And that's basically it. Like, whatever they're possessed by, they need to do certain things, or they lose their power, and the demon. So, yeah. And I'm trying to remember which one Maddox is. I feel like he's, like, one of the more, like, fighty, like, it's anger or hatred or something. And then there's one guy who's lies. He literally can't say something that's true.
Huh.
So when you're reading it, he'll just be like, it's like, oh, is someone here? Yes. I'm like, okay, so they're not here. Do you know where they are? No. Where are they? Like, it just gets annoying because they're like, but you're not paying attention to who's speaking. It's like the main character's not paying attention to who's speaking. It's like, great, where? Oh, crap, it was you. Never mind. So that'll be our pick. Depending on
a whole
the
bunch
results.
of you don't swarm the polls right now and skew the numbers. So go, keep us on our toes so that we're like, what are we buying? What are we buying?
Yep. Because otherwise, this is what it's going to be, guys. This is what it's going to be. don't understand. I'm gonna sneeze. I'm sorry. Okay, but that's that. So that will be on the last Saturday
June.
of June.
28th.
Sure. I normally am more prepared than this, but I don't know where anything is that I own.
I would say that's fair considering the chaotic state of moving and packing, etc. that you're in.
Yeah, it's fun. I can't wait to try and find my pajamas tonight. I might have packed them. I'm just like pack all the things. So anyway, so that's that. We will be post all the links below to all of our personal blogs, the group blog, and of course the Goodreads page. So go join, go vote. We'll be posting tweets and stuff with the polls till tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll announce it. I'm trying to remember. It either ends at midnight tonight or midnight tomorrow. I think it's midnight tomorrow. So
Vote tonight anyway.
Vote tonight anyway to make sure, because we got lots of time left still. So go do that. And thanks everyone who was watching. And
join us next month.
Yeah.
Yes. For Whatever We Read by the lovely Gina Showalter. And happy reading. Read all the books. Okay. Bye.
Oh.